Hey, welcome everybody. Glad you're here. Go ahead and hit your mute button. Welcome everybody. Thank y'all for joining us. Make sure you hit the mute button for now. You will have opportunities to unmute and ask questions as we go. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to actually pull up our newsletter, because there are some things that I'd like to point out, especially to my downtown students. Okay, so again, we're going to go through this just briefly while we give anyone else who's trying to join us an opportunity to do so. So you'll have your formal welcome in just a moment, but I want to make sure that we are all aware of the newsletter that comes out, the Pathways newsletter. It was created by the brilliant Miss Tan Tidwell, Kingwood Advisor. Whoop, whoop. So I have a hand in it as well. So we're going to go ahead and scroll through it just briefly. You all were emailed this earlier this month, so please take advantage, look at it, okay? We've got a lot of good things in here. We recognized our recent graduates from spring 2021 who graduated, what, a week ago or so? So you just know that y'all will be coming soon, okay? Obviously a bunch of different recognitions. I'm gonna keep going. We definitely wanna thank the people who helped us, like Dr. Lamb, who's on this call today. All right, some important reminders, semester highlights, y'all, take advantage of this, okay? When we send out surveys, make sure that you take a look at it. There's a lot of really good information here for you all to be aware of. Okay, so we'll keep on going. All right, some study tips. So take advantage of some of these. These aren't sponsored by the department, but it's some additional information that will be good for you all to know. And of course, we'll talk about this later in the presentation, but how to get Pathways to Pay. We have all the certification areas listed and the exams that you need. We'll keep going. And again, just some information, tips to handle educational burnout, mental health seminars that are offered during the summer. There's so much information, y'all. A lot of time and hard work and blood, sweat, and tears went into making this newsletter. So please take advantage of the information that's here. And then of course, when we ask for your participation, please be responsive, because you never know, you might get featured in the next issue, okay? So again, we're just scrolling through so you can be aware. You need activities for the kiddos over the summer for a free or reduced price. Check this out, okay? And then I think as we get towards the end, we start seeing things in case you want to have a staycation, free things to do, okay? Again, she has the website listed there for people. Let's see, okay? Fun things to do, free things to do, y'all take advantage of this. Okay. And then as we get to the end, so Ms. Tidwell and I will recognize a student every semester. And so these two young ladies are actually in PD, going into PD4, but who knows, it could be you. So, you know, we just want to make sure that we give our students special recognition as well. And then down here is the results from a survey that you all completed. And so you might see your name. So zoom in on your phone if that's what you're doing, if that's how you're joining us. And you also nominated faculty who got recognized, and we made sure that all the faculty are aware of this. It was sent out college-wide. We're so glad to have support from our dean. And so we just very thankful for you all and your participation with this newsletter. So without further ado, we will go ahead and jump into our presentation. Yeah, like Ms. Tidwell says, if you recognize someone in here, congratulate them. So again, Let me formally welcome you all on behalf of Ms. Denise Bergen, Ms. Sharika Mcgrew, Ms. Tan Tidwell, and myself to Pathways Summer Orientation for PD students only. And specifically, these are for students who are in PD3. Now, some of our students had to kind of join different orientations for various reasons. So if you're PD4 or PD2, okay, no problem, you're welcome nonetheless, but we just want you to know that we are specifically targeting PD groups. All right, I hope y'all enjoy the dancing gifts because, you know, since my son is a Fortnite person, that's what y'all get. We're gonna go right on, Mr. Will. All right, you are welcome, welcome, welcome from me and Ms. Tidwell. I don't know if you want to unmute and say anything, Ms. Tidwell. We know we're your favorite advisors. Come on now.
Hey everyone, happy to see you all here. Just thank you for showing up. And if you have any questions, feel free to hop on. Don't worry about raising your hand. Put it in the chat. Unmute yourself and ask. This is an interactive orientation. Like I always say, you already know, just like at a Black church, when the pastor gives a call, you give a response, right? It's the same thing. So just know I'm really proud of you guys. You guys have done super well this year, and the summer is going to be fantastic.
All right, thank you, ma'am. So yes, as we go, okay, we want you all to unmute, ask questions, put it in the chat, however you feel comfortable. And so what we just saw was the newsletter, but it's important to know that a lot of the information that you need as it pertains to exams can be found there. So when we send it off, if you're not, you're like, oh my gosh, I don't remember what they said, you might find it in our newsletter. Moving right along. All right, so we asked, right? We sent y'all a survey. You said we did. So with that, we'll go to the next slide. This presentation has been compiled based off of the questions you all asked, okay? So we're gonna talk about it, okay? We're definitely going, 10, let me make it, okay? Don't delete me. We're gonna talk about it, all right? So the questions that you've asked, we found the similarities, we grouped them, and we're gonna present them here. So don't worry, you won't be identified, but if you have a question, don't be scared, okay? Unmute and let's talk. Moving right on. All right, let me give this disclaimer before we really get started. This orientation is only about exams because there is so much information you need to know. A lot of the questions we got from our survey had a lot to do with PDs. What can we expect in field experience too? What happens with student teaching, things of that nature. When it comes to any of those questions, please direct them to Ms. Brown, okay? You see her email there, get your phone, take a screenshot if you need to, you probably already have it. She did want me to go ahead and say that if anybody has not been placed yet, don't be alarmed, there's nothing you need to do, it is coming. Some districts move faster than others, some move slower than others. So don't be alarmed if you haven't gotten your placement. She says that as information comes out and as your grades from the spring post officially, then you'll start getting information from her, okay? So just be aware of that. Moving along. All right, first question we got, and even though y'all are not ready to do graduation yet, I think it's important to know as far as applying for graduation and how will Pathways pay for it. Well, let's talk about it, okay? So for those who are going to be graduating in the fall of 2021, we can go to the next slide. They will actually be applying in July, okay? So if there's anyone on this call who is PD4, just know that the application opens up in July for our college, but you will get more information from Ms. Tidwell and myself with details. We can go on to the next slide. Now this applies to everybody on this call, okay? When it comes to Pathways payment of graduation regalia, how does that work? Well, first of all, you have to take and pass all your TExES exams, okay? You have to do that before we pay. But there's two things you need to keep in mind. Number one, you need to keep in mind that yes, these tests have to be taken and passed, and you might want to remember that before you want to take your pictures, right? Because think of, you know how this goes. You graduate, you know, let's say in May, but you want to take your pictures in April so you can send your invitations to everybody so that they can come or send you money, right? And so if that's the case, you want to make sure that, okay, if I want pathways to pay for my regalia, if I don't want to come out of pocket, let me go ahead and start taking or finish taking my exams now. Another thing to keep in mind is there is a deadline to purchase your regalia from the bookstore, whether it's being paid by us or out of your own pocket. And so you definitely want to keep that in mind if you plan on having pathways to pay for your regalia, because it's like, oh, shoot, I didn't know that there was a deadline. What do I do? Well, we can't change bookstore rules. So make sure you're aware of that, okay? It's quiet, so I guess that means no questions. So we will move on. I see nothing in the chat. Again, feel free to unmute, okay? I can't stress it enough. We had orientation yesterday. It was popping. So feel free to do the same. I want you all to find where you are. So you all will be graduating in spring of 2022. Yo, that's around the corner, okay? So in case you were thinking I got time, not today, it's here, okay? And so just FYI, it's coming, moving right along. You are welcome, Brianna. You are welcome. She said, she was like, I didn't know, girl. Yes. Okay. Question number 1. What is TExES? Why is it spelled like that? I thought it was TExAS. Okay, pause. Let's break it down. So when you see this word, right, on our website, it stands for TExES Examinations of Educator Standards. And then I had another student to say, well, what's what? Because should I call my tests or should I call them exams? It's the same difference. So even us, sometimes when we send an email, we'll tell you to go ahead and take your tests or go ahead and take your exams. It's the same difference, okay? And then sometimes people say, well, I've heard it referred to as core exam. I've heard it referred to as content exam. Are they two different things? No, they are one and the same. And so therefore they're interchangeable, okay? So we'll get into some details as we go, but I just want us to know what this is, basic things, so that we can say, oh, okay, I get it now, and you don't find yourself confused. It's quiet, so I guess we can move on, Ms. Tidwell. I appreciate you being on the 1s and 2s. Okay, another question. What certification exams do I need to take, and which exams are recommended to start taking first? So Dr. Lamb is on this call. She'll join as needed to ad lib and give direction. I appreciate you for joining us, Dr. Lamb. We'll go on and start answering these questions. Next slide. All right, so find your box, okay? Are you green, blue, light blue, purple, whatever, right? Whether you're EC6, ESL, 4 through 8, something I want us to notice, okay, that's unique to whichever program you're following is that there are 3 exams that everybody has to take no matter what. It's core subjects, okay? It's PPR and it's STR. Okay, so we start getting into differences if it's 4 through 8, which Dr. Lamb will elaborate on in a minute. You have 4 through 8 takes a different core subject exam, but they both take, you take the ESL supplement. Okay, Bilingual Ed and SPED both have 5 exams that they have to take. Bilingual takes the Bilingual Ed supplemental and the BTLPT additionally. And our SPED students take the ESL supplemental and the special education exam as well. Something to point out is that for EC6 ESL, EC6 bilingual, and special ed, you have 5 sections of the core, okay? It's different for 4 through 8. And if Dr. Lamb cares to elaborate, you are more than welcome, ma'am.
Well, for the 4 through 8, there are 4 sections, which is your English, math, science, and social studies. You do not have a fine arts section when you look at the 4 through 8 grade span. And I think Ms. Jarvis has also indicated that core subjects EC6, you're taking the 391. That's if you have never taken the exam before. So you don't have to worry about taking the 291 versus the 391. You'll just be taking the 391 exam since it will be your first test attempt. Okay,
and we have a question from Brianna. She's asking if I'm EC6, but interested in middle school, can I take the 4 through 8 test now?
No, you may not. According to TEA, that is not allowed and permitted. You are in the EC6 program, so you will have to complete the certification requirements for the EC6. Once you graduate and you're certified, you can go back and take any additional exams you would like to take, and you would not need UHG's approval.
So Brianna, good news, right? You can't do it now, but once you graduate and become fully certified, you're eligible to do it then. And that goes for anyone. Once you've graduated and gotten your certification, you're able to take additional exams. Moving right along. Let's go to the next slide. All right, so as far as an order, when should I take them? So this is the TExES certification roadmap provided by the Department of Urban Education. Now, I know we're all going into PD3, but we have quite a few on the call who have yet to attempt any exams at all. And so the way it's suggested, the way it's broken down is you'll start on the left-hand side with the exams under initial teacher candidacy. Now I'm gonna go ahead and yield the floor to Dr. Lamb here for any additional comments.
Well, when you were first admitted into the program, you should have received an email from myself, which gave you instructions on how to request test approval, making sure that your TEA account has been activated and all that kind of good stuff. The reason why we give you the roadmap is so that you will not get overwhelmed with trying to take and pass all of the exams right before going into student teaching. So as a candidate that is currently in the program, you will be required to take and pass your exams before you go apply for student teaching, which means for you, since you'll be starting student teaching in the spring 22 semester, that means that you will have to take and pass all of your exams by October of this year. And I know you're like, what? Yeah, October of this year. That is when you will be applying for student teaching for the spring 2022 semester. So you will have to have passed all of your exams before then.
Okay, and we got a question. So just to confirm, the 291 is for any attempts taken after our first attempt, 391. I think that's
no. So we'll take if you've taken the 291 previously, then you will continue to take the 291 until you have passed that exam. If you have not attempted the core subjects EC6 exam at all, you will be taking the core subjects EC6 391.
So just to confirm, this is Hector. So just to confirm, so if we do not pass all the tests by October, that means we're gonna lose a semester?
It means that you may have to sit out a semester. We're not
Okay.
saying you're gonna lose it. You're gonna have to sit out while you pass your exams.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Hector, I appreciate you being bold. Our first person to jump out there and speak. Whoop, whoop. Okay. Come back anytime, friend. Come back anytime.
The thing is that was something that's stressing me out because I mean, I barely started taking my test and I definitely do not want to sit a semester away since, I mean, a lot of things are being going on. So, I mean, I'm just trying to get it together and see if I can pass them all.
And that's the good reason why we're saying pass them before going into student teaching, because we don't want you feeling overwhelmed, because once you start the process of just concentrating on your classes and studying for your classes, you're not realizing that the information that you were already given is what prepares you for those exams. And so that is the reason why we have it spaced out like we do, so that you will not get overwhelmed with how many exams you have to take and pass, because it can be a lot, especially when you're bilingual and special ed, when you have to take and pass 5 exams. So we were trying to make sure that you feel comfortable with the testing sequence, but also making sure that you've received all of the preparation you need before you take those exams. And I know that's one of the later slides where we'll go over what classes prepares you for each of those exams. But that's the purpose of that, because we do not want you waiting and then feeling overwhelmed and stressed out by it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Hector. Thank you, Dr. Lamb. And we'll get a little deeper as we go. So we'll go to the next slide. All right. 3 questions related to studying. Will there be any study sessions before taking the exams? What is the most effective way to study for these exams? And are there any study resources for the content exam? Well, let's see. Next slide. Yes, the answer is yes. So Urban Education has a list of study resources, and I've listed them here. But if we go to the next slide, Ms. Tidwell, you can see exactly how to access these. Now, I can tell you that you were given this information, but I'm going to let Dr. Lamb take it from there. So here's where you find it, and we will send links out later, and I'll let her elaborate on when you received this information.
You received this information when you were initially admitted into the program. So in the email, it was either embedded or attached as a document. It has a lot of resources for every exam except for Science of Teaching Reading. We'll discuss more about the Science of Teaching Reading later, but it has study resources for the Bilingual Ed, the BTLPT, the core subjects EC6, the 4 through 8, ESL, special education. All of the exams are covered in one way or another. And these are all resources that you have available to you that you can purchase at your own at your own time. And all of the links that are blue are all hyperlinks. So those are actually good links for you to use to go to those particular websites to purchase the documents.
Excellent, excellent. Okay, we will keep going. All right, what classes prepare us for what exams? Well, let's find out. Next slide. Okay, I'm gonna let Dr. Lamb talk to us about these classes.
So as I stated before, we have it prepared and spaced out on the TExES roadmap because this is when you took the classes. So when you first got admitted, you should be taking the core subjects EC6. Now, like I said before, if you have not attempted the core subjects EC6 before, then you'll be taking the 391. For the 4 through 8 people, you'll be taking still the core subjects 4 through 8. That has not changed. So it will be the 211 exam. For once you get admitted, you will also be able to take the ESL supplemental because you should have finished up your preparation for the ESL by the next semester. So you'll take the ESL, you'll take your, and your ESL preparation is found in ESL 3303 and BED 3311. Now, I know most bilingual candidates say, well, because I'm bilingual, I can also take the ESL test. And the answer is you really cannot because you did not take the ESL 3303. But you do take BED 3307. So BED 3311 will have a lot of ESL and bilingual candidates in it because everyone uses that to prepare them for their supplemental. But for the bilingual candidates, it's your bilingual ed supplemental, not the ESL. The BED 3307 class prepares you for the BTLPT. The PED class 3305 prepares you for the PPR, and that should be the class that you took this semester, if I'm not mistaken. And then special education candidates, those are the, all of the SPED classes prepare you for the SPED test. And then your core classes, which is your math, science, social studies, fine arts, and history. I think that was the last one I was missing. That prepares you for your core exam. So when you start out taking your classes in your freshman and sophomore year, those are the classes that actually prepared you for the content exam. We as educators only prepare you on how to teach, not your content. And so your content is actually core. So we don't prepare you on the core, we just prepare you on how to teach the core. So you have to come to us with that kind of knowledge already. So if you know that you may have struggled in math 1301, or you may have struggled in your science classes, then that means that you need to go ahead and take advantage of the pathway resources and start preparing early for you to take your exams and be successful by studying and maintaining those notes that you had, because you may find that it will be a challenge to take and pass the exam if you struggle to pass those classes with C's or better.
Thank you, Dr. Lamb, for that articulation. Heard from King. Woo! Y'all use your reactions, okay? And shout out to Aaliyah. Oh, I think and that's the CEO from last time is playing. Done so well this semester. And that's not to shortchange anyone, but we can hear the video playing, I think. Yeah. Okay. Nope, it's okay. IT, no worries. We're getting it all together. It's different hearing yourself. It's cool. Let's go on to the next slide. Did anyone have a question? I don't think so. Nothing came through. We had a question about STR, but we're getting to that next. So Maria, this is for you, boo, along with anybody else. Why can't we take the STR until PD3? How will we be prepared to take the STR? And what's the difference between the STR and the core exam? All right, we shall move to the next slide. So when it comes to the STR, as far as why you can't take it until PD3, I will let Dr. Lamb answer that and she'll kind of go from there.
Well, the reason why you can't take it until PD3 is because it is a new exam that just came out in January. So it was not put in your curriculum for you to have the preparation ahead of time. So you're only able to take that exam after you complete the preparation for it, and your preparation would not have been available at that time. So your preparation, you have two options. One option is either option one, using the free UHD modules. And I know a lot of students say free is better. That's fine. You may use that as an option, or the other option will be 240 tutoring. If you use 240 tutoring and you are not to choose both of them, you're supposed to choose one of them. If you use 240 tutoring, you will need to take your diagnostic test first for only one attempt, and you cannot repeat it. You will need to complete all of your study modules. You'll need to take and pass your practice exam with a 90% or higher. Once you pass that exam with a 90% or higher, and you only have 3 test attempts for that exam in the program, you will need to email 240 tutoring for them to send you a certificate. And once you receive it, you will need to send me 4 documents. So you will send the the progress report, the diagnostic test, the practice test, and the certificate. Now, if you're doing UHD modules, that is fine as well. You will need to send me 2 certificates. So you should not send me one. If you send me one, I will not be able to process it, and I will send it back to you. If you do not send me all 4 documents from 240 tutoring, again, I will not be able to process it, and I will send it back to you. So you must send all documents at the same time in a PDF format in order for your documentation to be processed and approved.
So something I just want to point out again, y'all. So all of this information is on our website. You just got to find it, but it's definitely there. But if you want, like I said, get those cell phones, take pictures, do screenshots, whatever needs to happen so that you can be aware that, of any information we're sharing, but especially as it relates to the STR preparation, you only need to pick one of the 2 options listed. So, okay, I see a few questions. I'm going to go ahead and take them. I think the first one was, so once we submit all of the documents, then we submit the test request form.
That is correct.
Okay, and then will the STR module on Blackboard be available during the summer?
It should be.
Good enough for me. All right, thank y'all for your questions. We'll go to the next slide. Okay, so when it comes to the content parts of the core versus the science of teaching reading. So if Ms. Tidwell can help a sister out and zoom in a little bit. One of the things here, and Dr. Lamb will be elaborating, but it does show you each of the components. And it shows the time devoted for basically each one. On the left, you see that's just for the core, and on the right is for the STR. We'll get to your question in just a minute, Yesenia. But Dr. Lamb, if there's anything you'd like to elaborate on here, and I don't know if we need to zoom back out a bit, but feel free.
Well, with the core subjects EC6 exam, the 391 specifically, because that should be the one that a majority of you will be taking, you will have 5 hours to take your exam. You have 5 sections, And you will see the breakdown on the left-hand side. So you have the English language arts and reading, math, science, social studies, and fine arts. You will have a certain amount of questions and a certain amount of time for each section. You will have to score at least a 240 on each section in order to have passed the core subjects EC6. Science of teaching reading, on the other hand, and one more thing about the 391 core, or even the 211 core 4 through 8, is that it only costs 116. Now, if you're looking at the science of teaching reading, you'll notice that it costs 136. The reason why it costs a little bit more is because the science of teaching reading exam has a written component. So when you look at how the test is broken out, it has 90 selected response or multiple choice questions and 1 constructed response question. So right now until September 6th of 2021, you will receive a score of pass or fail. As of right now, we haven't had anyone fail the exam by using 240 tutoring and or the UHD modules, but that is the way it's being scored right now. After September 6th, it will go to the 240, has to be the passing standard.
So
and also for the STR, you should notice that when you check the score reports, you should notice that it takes a little bit of time to get those scores back because it has the written component in it.
So this is all really good information. So again, feel free to reference this PowerPoint. Also, this is a nice plug for our Pathways YouTube page, right? Make sure you like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell, as Tam would say, because we'll have this recording posted there for you to refer back to if need be. So thank you, Dr. Lamb. We'll move on to the next slide. Thank you all for your questions in the chat, by the way. All right, where do we take our exams? How do we find a location to take our exams? Good questions. Let's answer them. So you will actually go to the Pearson website for testing locations. I will actually have Ms. Tidwell, if you are available, if you're able, can we go to this website? We're gonna go through it just briefly to show the students a few things, but I would like you all to see it so that you can have an idea. Okay, so when you're on the home page, yes, you'll click on exams. You will come down to TExES, the weird spelling.
Quickly.
Oh yes, go for it, I'm sorry.
So with the Science of Teaching reading test, everyone that is a part of Pathways will have to take it eventually. It's just the timing of when it's taken is based upon what PD you're in. So you will have to take it eventually. You're just not able to take it right now because you have not completed your preparation that you need in order to get test approval.
Thank you for that. Was there anything you wanted to touch on here before we go up and click on TExES?
No, I think here is where you will see with the Science of Teaching reading, if you'll scroll down to Science of Teaching reading. And then you'll scroll down to the score report dates. Here is where you'll be able to find when the scores report or reported. So it takes a little bit of time for it to come out. I do know that part of this, part of the presentation is for you to see how to select your testing center and your testing location. But this is one reason why is because it takes so long for it to come out that we allow you to register for the STR and one additional exam. But if you'll go back to the previous screen, Ms. Tidwell. This particular exam is offered quite frequently, and it has a lot of testing centers available that you can test at, but the BTLPT is the one that has some location constraints on it. Check appointment availability. If you check the appointment availability, it will show you that this particular exam is only offered at 3 testing centers, but it'll also share with you when it's being offered. So we only have 3 available in the Houston area. And those 3 are the one on the northwest side of town, one on the southeast side of town, and the one on the southwest side of town. Then the other 2 that's in the immediate area is out in Bryan College Station and Beaumont at Lamar University. So that means that we are permitting you to register for the BTLPT if you're a bilingual candidate and 1 additional exam. But if you click the first 3, the 3 that are in Houston, and click next, and you'll see we don't have any testing dates available in May right now. But again, May is going to end this weekend. So go to the next month and you'll see, well, if you go to the next month, you'll see for that same location whether or not you have anything available at that location. And so we don't have anything available in June, and we probably won't have anything available until July. So for those of you that are trying to take these exams, everyone is trying to take these same exams. It's not just UHD students. We have U of H main campus students. We have Clear Lake. We have Victoria. We have Texas Southern. We have Houston Baptist, Rice, St. Thomas. All of these universities are trying to go to these same 3 testing centers to take their BTLPT. So that means you have to get in early and get your submit your test approval early so that I can process it. And within 2 weeks, because it's going to take about 2 weeks, especially now, because I have so many students that are waiting until the summer to take their exams. So it's taking me a lot longer to process the request. But this is what you're looking at.
Okay, so I have a question right there, Dr. Lam. So we say I'm taking my core tomorrow. And I'm planning to take the bilingual supplemental next.
Okay.
How many days did I have to let go after taking the core to apply for the bilingual supplemental? Or can I request it already? I don't think I can right now.
Okay. So your answer is as soon as your test scores are posted for the core. See, I'm the individual that I don't know when everybody's taking their exams. I'm just giving you approval. So because I do not know when you're taking your exams, I always say, wait until your test scores post before you submit another request. So even though you're telling me you're taking it tomorrow, something could happen, God forbid. And if it does happen, you may end up pushing the test date back or off or whatever the case may be. But in that case, if Pathways has paid for it, they could potentially lose their money because you're supposed to take it tomorrow. So you're supposed to change your test date within 48 hours of taking the test if you're planning on changing the test for whatever reason. But if there's something going on at the testing center that prohibits you from taking the test, then that's totally different and it will not be a penalty to Pathways. But if you decide that you just don't want to take it on that day and you miss the date, then what will end up happening is Pathways will lose their money. So my answer to you is for you to submit the request for the Bilingual Ed Supplemental. If you're taking the test on tomorrow, which is Wednesday, your scores should come out on Friday. And on Friday, you should be able to submit a request for test approval for the Bilingual Ed.
Okay, thank you so much.
Now, if you're not successful with passing all of the sections of the core, you do not have to wait for you to pass the core before you move on to another exam. That will be up to you. That is a personal decision that I don't have anything to do with, but I do know students have that in their idea or their mind that it's a UHD policy, and it is not a UHD policy for you to finish up one exam before you move on to the next. If you decide you want to take another exam in the interim time period of you waiting, you may do so.
Thank you.
This was good. This was helpful. So now we see the importance of getting these tests taken in timely fashion. because of several things that are kind of beyond your control. Leah, do you have a question at the moment? Leah Alvarado?
Yes, I just wanted to quickly ask, or like to add on to her answer. So I took the BTLTP and we won't get the result until like 2 weeks. So I have to wait those 2 weeks. And so I could request like the next test, because I know like you said, like you mentioned, the exams are filling up because everyone's like mostly taking them right now during the summer. So would you prefer for like in my example for me to like wait? Because I won't get them till I saw it was June 11th, so it's like 2 weeks from now.
So that was for what we pulled up, if I'm not mistaken, was the score reporting dates for the Science of Teaching Reading, not the BTLPT.
Oh,
Yeah. The BTLPT, because you are a bilingual candidate, you can submit a request for the BTLPT and one additional exam.
Yes, so I currently took the BTLTP, so I'm able to request for another one already, or should I just still wait for the results? Because I keep checking, it says pending, and I just saw the dates say that they won't post them until June 11th, just like the STR one.
Okay. Again, if you're a bilingual candidate, you're able to submit a request for the BTLPT and one additional exam.
Okay, thank you.
I had another hand raised. I believe it was Brianna.
Hi, my question is somewhat similar to her. So I just took my ESL exam yesterday. So I think I won't get the results until 2 weeks. And I plan to take the STR in August. As soon as I get my results, can I go ahead?
Will not come out in 2 weeks. The ESL comes out within a couple of days.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
ESL, that is only the case for the BTLPT.
Oh, okay. So this paper one's wrong. Okay. So can I already, as soon as I get my results, already do a testing request form, but not take my test until August, or should I wait until it's a little bit closer?
Okay. If you're not planning on taking your exam until August, you should wait until August to submit your request. So the rule is that you're supposed to submit a request after you've already studied, so that when you get approval, you'll go out and take your test immediately, which is in a decent amount of time, which is 3 weeks maximum.
Okay, thank you.
These are great questions. We're gonna go ahead and get back to the presentation now, and you'll find that there will be some more elaboration as we go, but feel free to ask if you still have more. So as soon as we get back to the presentation, we'll move on to the next slide. So a few other questions and answers here as it relates to test order and timing. Can I take tests over the summer if I'm not taking classes in the summer? As long as you are in our teacher education program, yes, you can, okay? Also, how many tests can we register for at once? And so Dr. Lamb just explained that for everyone, you can take the STR plus one more. And for our bilingual candidates, you can take the BTLPT plus one more. I'm sure she'll elaborate in a minute if anything is wrong. And then when do these tests have to be completed? As soon as possible, okay? We're not just talking about ASAP, Rocky, and Ferg. We are literally saying that you need to, as you saw, time constraints. Don't request test approval unless you're willing to go and take it within 3 weeks. Otherwise, test approval is snatched. We lose our money and you find yourself up a creek without a paddle. So yes, take your tests and get them done as soon as possible. There's actually some more details with that, but I will yield the floor to Dr. Lett.
You did a quite good job, Ms. Travis.
Whoop, whoop. Okay, so yes, y'all are in PD3, and then of course, if there's anybody here from a different PD, but just know, as we mentioned, I think it was October 2021. So make sure we get them done. Summer is a great time to get them done. We're gonna move right along, Ms. Tidwell. All right.
Okay, I do have another
Okay, Hector.
Right there. For some reason, there is not days or ability on the testing centers. And we cannot take it before, like, for some reason, we don't finish taking them all by October. And we still have to sit down one semester up, even though it was not our fault. It's just a question, just a scenario.
That's the reason why we want you to take them as soon as possible and early as possible.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
All right. So when it comes to multiple test approvals, can I submit approval to take another test right after taking a test, even if the results are not in yet? I believe you got your answer. Dr. Lamb. She said yes. Okay. Next, if I fail a test, am I allowed to take a different test? Or do I have to complete remediation for the test I failed and then retake the test I failed before moving on? Dr. Lamb answered that question too. She said, it's not UHD rule policy. You are able to move on and take another exam before you take and do remediation, taking past the other one. She's unmuted, so I'm gonna let her talk.
I was just gonna say that, yes, that is correct, that you do not have to wait. It's up to you if you decide to wait and prolong the process. That's up to you if that's what you would like to do. But again, that also is the reason why it's taking you a lot longer to get through the process, which means time is going to slowly start to tick away. And then next thing you know, it's going to be October and you're still looking at needing to pass 3 or 4 exams. And that's not what we want to see happen. So that's the reason why we want you to take them as soon as possible.
Okay, Brianna, did you have a question as it pertains to this slide? I saw your hand up. And I know that Matthew, you had a question. So Matthew, can you hold your question for us, please? And we'll get back to that in just a moment, or maybe Dr. Lamb might be able to answer it in the chat. Okay, so we're not going to forget about you, Matthew or Brianna, but we'll go ahead and go to the next slide, Tan. Oh, okay, she forgot to lower her hand. No problem. You just wanted to be recognized. You want to hear your voice. Your name is all cool. Okay, now here's one. How do I fill out the test approval form? So we've been talking about take your test, find a location. But some people have legitimately asked, well, how do I even fill out the approval form? Okay, so these are the breadcrumbs for how to do it. Let's see. I think time is of the essence. So we will forego clicking through it, but just know that that is the breadcrumbs for doing it, okay? And we'll make sure that you have the links for it. So we will go on to the next slide. All right, having 2 proper IDs. There we go. So when you go to take your exam, okay, when you go to take your exam, you have to show up with 2 forms of identification, and they have to be original and valid, okay? They cannot be photocopies. They cannot be digital, meaning they're on your phone, like, oh, hey, here's my ID. And they cannot be expired. Both IDs must be printed in English and in the name in which you registered. Now, that whole registered name is a big thing. Your identification must contain your first and last name, okay, that you registered for. Dr. Lamb will explain. A recent recognizable photograph or your signature. And you see on the other screen the list of acceptable forms of primary identification. And I will go ahead and let Dr. Lamb do her elaboration thing here.
So for the 2 forms of ID, you have to make sure that your first name and your last name match whatever is on your driver's license, state identification, military ID, passport, because that is your primary form of identification. For your secondary and form of identification, you have to make sure it's not expired, it's not digital, and it's not a photocopy of that one as well. But when you go to get certified, you have to make sure that you have a social security number as well too. The purpose of the social security number is for you to be able to use that to get a background check done. So a background check is done nationally, and they use the social security number, and they check you against the national database to make sure you don't have anything in your records that will prohibit you from being a certified teacher. And so you need to make sure that you have that on file as well too. So your ID, your state ID must match what's in the TEA system, which matches what's in the Pearson system, which matches also what is in the UHD system. So if some of you have a preferred name that is not your legal name, you need to make sure that your legal name is what is your primary name in the UHD system for when I go to process test approvals, because I do not know who is who if you're changing your names around. I just need to know what your legal name is.
Thank you for that. Tan, we'll move on to the next slide. All right, how do we get Pathways to pay for our exams? How many exams will Pathways pay for? And does Dr. Lamb need to know that we're Pathways when requesting test approval? Let's answer that last question now. No, she does not, okay? I think she typically, we'll go to the next slide and then I'll say the next thing, Tan. Okay, so guess where I stole this information? I didn't steal it, we created it, but it's on our newsletter, okay? So yes, Pathways will pay for your first attempt at every exam you have to take. Remember, do not request test approval unless you are ready to take your test within 3 weeks of receiving approval. And Dr. Lamb can get approvals back to you as soon as 2 days or up to 2 weeks. Please do not email her asking the status of your approval. And no, she does not need to know that you are a Pathways student, okay? And keep in mind, Pathways will not cover remediation, but we'll talk about that a little bit later in the presentation. And so here's the deal. Here's how you get Pathways to pay. Now, once you have submitted your form online and it goes to Dr. Lamb, and after she gives you approval, you will get an email from Dr. Lamb, okay? It's confirmation. And if Ms. Mcgrew wants to jump in here at any point, she's welcome. But then once you receive that confirmation from Dr. Lamb, hello, I'm gonna just pick on someone, Leah Alvarado, you know, you've gotten whatever approval, you know, please move forward and follow these instructions, whoop-de-whoop. You forward that to Ms. Sharika Mcgrew and you wait to hear back from her. But you will have to drive downtown, okay? And you will have to meet with her to get your exams paid for. Keep in mind that you're gonna already need to know the location. So don't expect to come in there and sit down with Sharika and be like, so where am I gonna take my test? She's gonna look at you and be like, I don't know where you live, right? So the process we just showed you all is what you'll need to do as your homework before you come and see her, okay? Yes, Ms. Mcgrew, please.
I just wanted to add, you don't send me the form that you're going to send Dr. Lamb, because that is not your approval. As she stated, your approval is Dr. Lamb confirming that you have received approval. So once you get that email, then you can send it to me and we'll go from there. I don't need to know the location in your email. I don't need to know the date and the time in the email, because you will not take your test with me. You are just registering and we're paying for your exam. So all of that information, I don't need to know. You need to know it and be prepared for when you come to see me to make sure we book that location that you want and the time. But I don't need it in the email format.
All right, thank you. And Ms. Denise, I see you got your hand up. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, so when you log into the Pearson account, you're able to look at what's available. What it does is it pulls the closest testing centers based on your address. So it'll give you those options first, but it doesn't block out all of them. It actually gives us all within a particular range. When you look at those testing centers, you can go to each one and see when there's available testing dates. And once you select the date, at the very bottom, you'll see where the times are. You may not see that immediately because I'm not sure where in the process, but for sure when you're scheduling, once you select the date, if you look at the bottom, it'll give you the times. So it's best to look at it in advance so that you're not surprised when you show up and say, oh, I thought I was going to be able to take it on this day. Because as Dr. Lamb said, these dates go pretty fast. You are just one institution that's testing. Every single institution, every single person that has to take these exams, they're also scheduling as well. So keep in mind, sometimes the dates go pretty fast, and with particular exams like the SCR, because everyone's needing to take it, and the BTLPT, because there's limited testing centers, those dates are very scarce. So definitely keep those things in mind.
Thank you, ladies. I'm so glad you got to hear Miss Sharika Mcgrew's voice, because if we go to the next slide, something we need to point out about Miss Mcgrew is that, we are so happy for her. Let me just tell y'all what's going on. So she's been our program assistant since 2016. She has been the glue of our program, just keeping us together, keeping us in check. I know she's had to reel me in a few times. And she is a proud graduate of UHD and Prairie View A&M University. And y'all, she was recently promoted. And we're so proud of her. We're so happy for her, but it's bittersweet because she will be leaving us. And so Sharika, just know how much we appreciate you. To the Pathways team, we'll get you information as to who you'll connect with when it's time, to get your exam scheduled. That won't change. You'll still be able to do it. But Sharika, thank you so much for your service to our program. Thank you for your service to our students. Girl, we appreciate you. Yes, thank you, Liam. If y'all don't mind, give her some reactions. Maybe drop a congratulations in the chat. Let her know how much we appreciate her. Y'all, when we were meeting in person and we were getting food, came from Sharika. Okay, so everything that you have to do that pertains to money, graduation regalia, when we took the trips, anybody on here was when we went to Austin and the hotel was paid for, okay, Sharika did it. And she does so much more behind the scenes. So Sharika, take in all the congratulations, ma'am. You are well worth it. Thank you so much. All right. And yes, ma'am. I'm sorry. Go.
Oh, I just wanted to say thank you all so much for the congratulations, the comments, and the texts and the emails and everything. I really appreciate it. As she stated, I was with the department, with the program since it started. So I'm the oldest one of the group. But it's gonna be bittersweet. As she also stated, I'm a graduate of UHD. I graduated May 2020 with my bachelor's in MIS, so I'm not a teacher. But that's okay. We can still give advice. And I am currently in the master's program at Prairie View A&M University, also working on my master's in MIS as well. So just a little encouragement to you all, just, keep going, don't stop. Even though it may be frustrating, it may be hard, it may feel like giving up at times. It may seem like you're at your wit's end as COVID is happening, everything else is happening all around you, but just stay focused, keep your mind on your books, and everything that Pathways is telling you to do, continue to do that, because in the end, your main goal is to be a successfully certified teacher in the end, and we know that you all can do it.
Thank you so much, Sharika. And again, we appreciate you. All right, y'all. So we are coming up on 4 o'clock. I can tell you that there are a few more slides, but if you need to go, right, we're not going to sit here and, hold your feet to the fire. But I do want to be respectful for those who may have previous engagements. If you need to leave, you are indeed welcome to do so at any given time once we hit the 4 o'clock mark. But for those of you who are able to stay, we will finish this presentation and we're going to go right into remediation. The question was asked, what is it? What is the process? We'll go to the next slide. Simply put, remediation is an act or process of correcting areas of weakness for the purpose of developing mastery in the material. And we'll go to the next slide. So when it comes to remediation, that means you took your test, but you were unsuccessful, okay? Students needing remediation will get an email from Dr. Lamb, and she has unmuted, so I will let her speak.
The title of the email will be Certification Q&A, which means that you will need to use the Sign Up Genius link to select the time to meet with me virtually. We will not be meeting face to face, hopefully no time soon. And it will only be in a virtual format. When we have our conversation in our meeting, I will give you the Zoom login information, and we will meet to discuss what you use to take your test or prepare for your test, maybe what some steps that you can take to help you be successful in the future, but you will need to complete additional remediation and test prep before you can request test approval again in the future. You will have to wait at least 30 days before you can retake the exam, and you will have to pay for your remediation. Pathways does not pay for it. And Pathways will not cover your second exam attempt as well.
That is correct. So does that mean we jump in and cover the third? No. Matthew, so do I have to pay for an exam before being able to select a date? No, not if it's your first attempt. If it's your first attempt, Pathways pays for it, but you need to know the date and the location before you go and meet with Sharika or whomever it will be at the time. I hope I answered your question. If not, go ahead and chat it up a little bit more, but Ms. Tidwell, we'll move on to the next slide. And this also belongs to Dr. Lamb because the question came in, well, what does it take to become a certified teacher? I thought if I graduate, that's it. No, there's a little more to it.
Well, the steps start out with you've taken your classes that prepares you for your exams, so you have to pass your exams. Then as you pass your exams and go into student teaching, you will graduate at the end of student teaching. So at that time, you will be given your next steps, which includes you will need to pay for your certification, you will need to get fingerprinted, and you will need to pass a background check. Now, most people, again, I talked about a background check before when I talked about the Social Security number, but that's where it comes into play. So if you are having an issue with having a Social Security number, then that will be something that you will need to get addressed quickly, because the time is winding up, and when you go to get certified, it will not post if you cannot get a background check, a clean background check, and you cannot get fingerprinted.
Thank you, Dr. Lamb. We'll go on to the next slide. All right, so here it is, y'all. Take your exams because the future is waiting on you. We got our kids, they need you, okay? The demand is high. Ms. Brown did share with me that, you know, employers from these schools hit her up all the time. I guess the technical word would be they email her asking, you know, who's ready to come and teach, you know, and it helps when she can say, well, I can tell you that in PD4, because your test should already be done, right? I've got X amount of students and that are ready to be certified. I can tell you that out of those students, I've got this many that are in your district that are ready to go. And so it helps, right, for you all to take these exams, get them behind you, pass them, and then get ready to go into the future and do what you got to do to help our students, okay? Our children, they really are the future. We'll go to the last slide because now we are at the end. I'm sorry that we spilled over just a bit, but I do see some questions in the chat. If anyone is comfortable with unmuting and asking, we can do that. We have just a few more minutes before I'll need to end this meeting. So I will go on mute for a moment and yield the floor to anyone who's brave enough to jump out there. Okay, where can we find more information about paying fees after graduation? Dr. Lamb, would you know that?
Which one?
Are you talking about the fees to be certified, Estella?
Yes, ma'am. The one that I just said to get the certification.
Okay.
You'll be
Gotcha.
given those next steps when you're ready to be certified.
So in other words, it sounds like you're going to have to wait. And as you complete everything that you need to, and you have reached that level, then you'll get more information on it. Anybody else dropping anything in the chat, or anyone care to unmute?
Yeah, I have a question. I'm trying to figure out this process about getting scheduled for the test. When I'm looking at it, it says you can look at appointments, but you must register first. Does that mean I had to pay the money for it? I'm confused.
So basically what you're doing is looking at your location and your times. That's all we need you to do at this point. Figure out where you want to go, where you want to take your exam, what time you want to take your exam. Once you figure that out, you will submit your form to Dr. Lamb. Once you get approval from her saying that you have gotten your approval to proceed, you will send that information to me, the approval email to me. And then we will go forward and pay for your exam. So you're not paying for anything at this point. You just need to know where you want to go, what time and what date you want to take the exam.
Can I give you multiple dates, or because I don't want to lose that date?
It's,
You can
So,
write
and
them
your-
down. You can write them down and you know, but you don't have to email me the dates. It's just
Okay.
good for you to have them on hand, just in case when you do come to see me, you know what are the dates you have, what are the options you have.
Okay.
So in your case, you will need to email her your approval email
Gotcha.
because it
All right.
wasn't already. And that way you can set up a time with her to meet with her so that she can pay for it.
I just wanted to hop on here really quickly. I pulled it up. The newsletter shows the steps that Dr. Lamb and Sharika are mentioning. So if you need that information, you can go to the newsletter or you can go to the PowerPoint slides. This is on there. You can click this link and it will take you directly to the location to find your location for your exam. See how I just clicked it? It opens up. Oh, wait, that's the registration, sorry. You click that link to send your registration. This is the one you click to find your location. This one is to register. The next one is to find your actual location. So it's pretty simple, like they were saying. You go there, you find it, and you, sorry, I'll fix that.
It's okay. So actually,
Thank you.
the link that's embedded in this presentation, the NES, whatever that Denise shared, is the link that'll take you there. So no worries. So it's there, and students will have access to that. Okay. Any other questions? We've got time for maybe one more.
Hey, howdy. I just have one question. So I know that this is being recorded. When is this going to be posted again? Because I need to watch it definitely again. It's just so much information. And I know that some of this I know already, but I just really want to make sure I'm very thorough and not fighting demons.
Hey, Karen. Okay, so I'll have to defer this question rather to my IT specialist. Oh, she says it'll be posted today. So everybody make sure that you have liked and followed and hit the notification bell for our Pathways YouTube page. Okay. Oh, look at that. I like that. Leah said, Karen, girl, you know I got you. She said, I took notes. Okay.
He knows that I take notes with everything.
Yes, and I think Ms. Tidwell dropped the link to our YouTube page. So if anyone has not already gone and followed and liked our page, click it, go do it right away, because all the information that we share with you all is there, okay? I appreciate everybody on this call. Again, thank you all so much for joining. I hope that you found this information to be valuable. Again, reach out to Ms. Tidwell or myself with additional questions if you have them, but otherwise do not delay. Take your test today or, as soon as possible. Dr. Lamb, I want to say thank you for being here. On behalf of Ms. Denise Bergen, Ms. Sharika Mcgrew, Ms. Tan Tidwell, and yours truly, myself, thank you all for coming, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Stay safe in this rain. Bye.